Guest this evening is the author and speaker, Nate Stevens. He's here to discuss his latest book, and we're really looking forward to it. So please welcome Nate Stevens.
Thank you for having me.
Nate, thanks for
It's
being
a pleasure.
here. Yes, we're really excited to chat with you and hear about all the exciting things that you've got going on, coming up. If we can, maybe we'll start a little bit with just give the viewers at home an opportunity here just to get to know you a little bit, some of your background,
Sure.
where you're from, family, those kinds of things, and then we can transition into some of the
Sure,
more,
absolutely. Well, I'm a missionary's kid.
Okay.
I was born on the mission field, grew up on another mission field, and been all around the world, so I have a pretty good worldview, a different perspective than most people that have grown up in this country. I have had the distinct pleasure of, for whatever reason, having a desire to read God's Word. There's just something that draws. Ever since a teenager, I'd be in there highlighting whatever, and mind you, I didn't always live according to it, but I had a love for studying it, reading it, memorizing portions of it. So that's kind of where I grew up.
Okay.
And
at what point in life did you find yourself like back in the States, or as far as living, or like were you living abroad, or was that more?
Yes, living abroad until I was about 13, that wonderful age of, and then you
Wow.
come back into the States with the culture shock of being in a different country, and then you're 13, so you're struggling with that age, and then the cultural thing. So
when parents say like, oh, there's kids that would love to, and they're talking about like gratefulness, you're like, oh, I know those kids.
right.
Wow.
So that's why when people say, well, you don't know what it's like, I'm like, you don't want to try me.
Yeah. Wow, what a unique experience as far as upbringing. So then you get back and you're living here in the States. And
Yes, went to Christian school, went to Bible school, and then through God orchestrating, I was going to go into Christian education, be a Christian teacher and a coach. But God has His way of orchestrating sovereignly in people's lives, and so I was made an offer to go into banking, and that was about 45 years ago, and it's been a wonderful, long career. Hopefully I can retire from that, or maybe phase that out and start full-time more into the ministry, because that's really where the passion is. But God blessed me with a wonderful career, and it's kind of a two-edged sword. There's promotion and there's leadership and things like that that come along naturally as you progress. And with that comes also the pride that can be the downfall and the vulnerability if you're not watching. So even though I had that love for Scripture and I was involved in church, deacon, finance committee, choir, singing in quartets and everything, and yet if you don't take care of the small things, then the call of the wild kind of gets you. And so there were many years, unfortunately, that I was splashing around in the pig pen of sin, like the story of the prodigal son in the far off country. And, God has a way of, when His children stray, He has a way of narrowing your path and start removing things from you. Kind of like the story of Balaam, where he was in a wide area and then he narrowed the path, and then there was a place where there was rock walls on both sides, and then he couldn't go anywhere else. It was like, here's the encounter. And He did that with me to where, I found myself here in Charlotte. I had lost my job, lost my career, basically, reputation, family, kids, social. I had no friends, no church, no nothing. I was basically removed, and then, unemployed for a lengthy period of time, which that leads to a crisis of faith. And I'm glad that during that time, no one came and rescued me. It's a natural instinct to see somebody struggling and you say, well, here, let me help you. Thankfully, He took me where I needed to be, to where there was nobody. And there was no jobs being offered, even though I had the education, the promotability, the experience, etc. And that was the crisis of faith where, during my prayer times, which I now look back and see them more as spiritual temper tantrums. God, why don't you this and that? So I look back at that one night in particular that was the crisis of faith. I went out into my backyard, and I'm facing financial ruin because the checkbook has racing stripes on it. The bills keep coming, the income's not there. And I go out into the backyard and I pitch in a fit, and I remember saying, God, I just need to know you're in control of this. I keep asking for a job. You said you will provide my needs. Well, are you there? I need a job. Can you, et cetera. So I'm all worked up. And it was one of those nights where the sky was inky black and the stars were it looked like you could reach up and just grab one. And in that moment, at that very precise moment when I'm having this fit, I look up at 12 o'clock high, and the shooting star screams across the night sky.
Wow.
And I hear myself, this is how worked up I was, I hear myself say, well, that's just great, God. I asked you for a job, you burn up a star. I don't need a burn up star, I need a job, are you not listening? And I hear this warm kind of fatherly laughter kind of surrounding me saying, no, son, that's not what you asked me. You ask me, am I in control of this situation? He says, do you know anything about the speed of light? Do you know how many years ago I had to start that star burning out to get over your head this night at this precise moment when you need it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I did that. And I'm also in control of you. So when you're ready to really talk, and it was one of those moments where I walked inside the house, laid flat down on the floor on my face and said, I'm done. I surrender. I mean, brokenness, yieldedness, and whatever. And that's kind of the theme where, throughout my writing career, it's come back down to that main thing. It's surrender, like Jesus did in the Garden of Gethsemane. Not my will, but yours be done, whatever it may be. And it was a moment of that brokenness, that surrender, like, I'm done. I'm not negotiating anymore. I'm not playing. I'm not holding anything back. I'm yours. What would you like? And 3 days later, I had the job that was tailor fit for me. I mean, my experience, my leadership level, the expertise, the writing, the interaction at the executive level, et cetera. So God, in His mercy and grace, He does take you to that, through that disciplined path to where you then come to that place where there's no more negotiation. It's like I tell people all the time, there's no negotiation in surrender. If you're still negotiating, you're still fighting. And if you're still fighting, then you're not surrendering.
Right.
So when you come to that place where you give up and you say, okay, God, I'm yours, that's what He could do. So that's a little bit of the crisis of faith that led to my writing or whatever, because I've had the gift of writing, but it's funny how when we get gifts and we're gifted in certain aspects, we think it's strictly for secular use or providing for the needs of the family or whatever, which there's a certain truth to that. But God gives us gifts to be used, yes, to support ourselves here, but also to contribute to the kingdom. And so it finally dawned on me after all these years, it's like, I can probably use my writing skill for less policies and procedures, customer correspondence, these things. And so I started thinking, okay, how can I use this for the kingdom of Christ? And, it's like anything that is birthed new. There's the awkward first steps and the falling down, the mistakes. But over the years, it's been about 18 years now, and God has been absolutely wonderful and gracious. I have a website now. I have over 425 articles there on various topics, speaking topics that are there. I have published now 10 books, co-authored quite a few others. Articles have been on other websites. And so, again, if you surrender and say, okay, here's what I have, God said, okay, I can use that. And so now I'm branching more and more into that to where I'd like to morph maybe out of the kind of day job more into that where I can contribute to the kingdom, because that's in essence why we're here is we're investing. Jesus said, don't lay up treasures here, but lay up treasures there. So, the people who invest over there, I've heard a saying once that said, what kind of mansion can he build with the investment you send? So are you going to be a one-bedroom cottage? Because you spent everything, your time, resources, and the money here, or are you truly investing in the hereafter?
Wow. I'm reminded of something that that my family and I actually were talking about just recently was how isn't it interesting that and I think just the bit of the story that you've shared thus far is such a testament to this, that it's like God doesn't play by the rules that we set and that we and He doesn't see things, and He even says that in His words, like, I don't see things the way God doesn't see things the way you see them, right?
Yeah, my thoughts are not your thoughts.
Exactly.
My ways are not your ways.
And it's just
Isaiah,
like when you recognize that, and some of the things, isn't it interesting that some of the things that we don't think maybe have a lot of value or aren't a big deal, what if those are the things that we're the most rewarded for in the kingdom of heaven? Because it's like, because God, his currency is not of our own. He's not.
No.
He doesn't weigh things the way we weigh them as far as what's important. What's
That's why
not.
I love it. He comes up with the first shall be last and the last shall be first. So what we think is really important maybe won't be. And then the small things, He said, if you give a cup of water in my name. Again, the motives behind it. I mean, not everybody has the gift of writing. Maybe you have the gift of music. Maybe you have the gift of, sports or athletic to where you can use that as your platform. So find out what your purpose is. And, I use the term giddy up a lot. Like, we don't have much time. Life, James says your life is a vapor. The Psalm says, teach us to number our days, that we are but dust. And it's, a shadow that passes. So you don't know how long you have. So you have today. So slap a saddle on it and giddy up. Do what you're going to do. I don't mean to be running on ahead of God. But don't drag behind him either.
Yeah.
Walk beside him, hold his hand, snuggle up so close to him that you hear his heartbeat, and then just be who he created you to be.
That's great. So you mentioned authoring now 10 books, I hear that right?
Yes, 10.
That's great. Now, I do want to talk in a little bit about your latest book. But what have you seen or experienced? What has God taught you from first book to now, 10 books later? What has that journey been like for you?
It's been an incredible transformational journey. And I tell people all the time, I say, where do you come up with this stuff? What's your agenda? I said, I don't have an agenda. I just share the pain that God gives to me in the learning process. The first one was on relationships that I wrote for my kids. And I was single at the time, and you grow up in a Christian home, go to the Christian school, Bible school, whatever, you read the Bible numerous times. You think, okay, you have a step up. But then when you really find out that you don't have a clue on relationships, and there's so much that I think churches do a woefully poor job of equipping young people for that task. So I wanted my kids to avoid the pitfalls that I made. So that's the first book on the relationship. So that was cathartic in writing that. And then the next one was about adversity and experiencing things and why does adversity happen? Why do bad things happen to good people? And it's through a variety of stories from different people that I've met across the way that have suffered from horrible circumstances, and yet there's reasons behind it. Like for example, when I sin, there's punishment. But if you look at the life of Moses, he killed somebody, so then he spent 40 years in the desert. And why? Well, part of it was for punishment for getting a little ahead of himself with God's plan to free the Israelites, but the other one is preparation. He needed to learn how to survive in the wilderness, and because he was going to lead 2 million plus people through the wilderness, you need to know where the water holes are, what wadis are impassable, So God uses the adversity of life to prepare us, to sometimes punish us for our own things, and to prepare us to show his providence to, the various things that he does. So that was the adversity book. Then God's secret place, finding intimacy with him, growing deeper in our walk, and what does that look like? How do I find, and I find there's a lot of parallels between our relationships here on earth with the relationship with God is. Some people are fine with superficial relationships. Hi, how are you doing? Good morning, great, all things are good.
And if that was any better, then there'd be two.
And unfortunately, men like to stay in that superficial level. But there are deeper levels of relationships that are more meaningful, that can touch the heart of each person's core. And that's what Jesus did. And that's kind of, looking at how do you go more intimate and more meaningful in your relationships. It's interesting. There's a lot of people who know about Jesus. And then there's people who know him intimately. It's kind of like a famous person. Well, I may know about them. I can tell you a bunch of facts and figures. Sure. But I don't have their digits. I can't call them up and say, hey, you want to go out to dinner? You want to do whatever? So that's the difference between knowing about, having a head knowledge of Jesus, and having a heart knowledge of an intimate relationship with him that grows, and it gets sweeter and deeper. And so that was the intimacy book. Then there's the Accelerate Your Destiny, which is about slapping a saddle on it, giddy up when you find out what your purpose is. Has some racing themes because I spent, believe it or not, 5 years on the safety crew down at Daytona International Speedway.
Whoa, okay.
Calling out wrecks and different things and all. So that was pretty cool. And just, I swear I was born for speed, because I just don't do traffic jams, brake lights, red lights,
suggestions.
That's like, so that's kind of the, again, it has to do with the shortest distance between 2 points is a straight line. And some people, here they are, their purpose is here, and they kind of meander lost for a while. But once you figure it out, do what you can to get there, because again, time is short. And so that's, then you can see the progression of from the relationships to the adversity to growing in more intimate, to then encouragement to let's do what we're going to do quickly because time's running out. To then this latest one is called to Christlikeness, not Christianity, which I'm really excited about that, because that I will, and I'd like to take credit for all of this because I'm so brilliant, but no, it's just God's words that I have rearranged as he has seen fit to put in story form and relatable analogies to help people understand. But it's kind of a refreshingly new look at an age-old story. Who is Jesus? What did he do? What did he come to do for me? What does he want to do in my life? And what is my main purpose as a Christ follower? And there's a big difference between being a Christian and a Christ follower. The word Christian, people say, well, why would you want to slam the word Christian or Christianity? Well, the current Christian or Christianity buzzwords, they have been westernized, culturized, churchized, denominationalized. I mean, So what does that mean? When people say, well, I'm a Christian, what does that mean? Well, I believe in God. Well, so does Satan, so congratulations. What's the difference?
Yeah.
I think it's like 60 or 70% of the people say, if you would ask them, are you a Christian? They'd say yes. But if you change that question to, are you Christ-like? That's
Wow. Whole
that'll make
different
you stop and
ballgame,
think.
yeah.
And so the book is about who is he, what has he done, how does that mean for me, and then what is my purpose as a Christ follower? And it's so cool because in Romans 8:29 it says, the purpose is to be conformed to the image of his son, Jesus. So each and every day, the prayer should be, God, transform me some way, somehow, in all my interactions. Help me to honor you in everything that I say, think, and do. I want to bring honor to you. I want to glorify you. I want to put a smile on your face. So help my life matter for eternity while I interact here and while each day I become maybe a little bit more like you.
That's great. Let's take a short break, commercial break, and then when we come back, we're going to talk more about that. Nate's new book, or latest book, called to Christlikeness, Not Christianity. We'll see you in just a minute. Welcome back, everyone. We are talking with author and speaker Nate Stevens, his latest book, called to Christlikeness, Not Christianity. I want to talk a little bit more about that. Nate, thanks so much for being here today.
Certainly, absolutely.
One thing that, just to the title alone, I mean, I love the title. One thing that I'm reminded of is, and you can bring some light to this, is the word Christianity or the term Christians. That didn't show up maybe right away for people who were followers of Jesus, right? And it was almost, we were followers of the way. Was that, what is the parallels of those terminologies, and how does that play into
Right,
to your
absolutely.
book?
Yeah, the term Christian, actually, it was used as kind of a term of, oh, well, those Christians, the followers of Christos. You know, so it was kind of a derogatory term. And you're right, in Acts, the true followers of Christ, the apostles and the meeting groups that were there, they were followers of the way, capital T-W, the way. The way of what? Well, because Jesus said, I am the way, the truth, and the life. And so, yes, that's why even from the very beginning, it didn't have, there are some that argue and say, oh, well, this is where it came from. But then there's others that look at it and say, well, it's kind of a term of scorn to identify people. And then also, during the persecution times, you know, there was it was a label, let's go get them, kind of like terrorists.
Wow.
Let's go get them, the Christians, you know, they're the ones that burned down Rome, so let's go take them to the theater and kill them, etc. So that's why I get it, there's people that use that to define their church, their beliefs. But there's also a difference between true Christianity and Christendom.
Okay.
Christendom is that whole organized, churchy Christian religion, that surface level, the do's and don'ts, etc. Again, true Christianity is a relationship with Jesus Christ. That means if I am truly a Christian or a Christ follower, Jesus said, my sheep hear my voice and they follow me. Brings up first question, whose voice are you listening to? Is it the call of the world? Is it a call of somebody else? Because Peter says it says be vigilant. We have a very, very strong, smart, subtle, crafty enemy, an adversary who is seeking whom he may devour. He's looking to destroy us. And you say, oh, well, I'm just insignificant. No, you're part of the overall piece of the picture, and he wants to destroy any and everyone. And that's why throughout, all through scriptures, watch and pray, be vigilant, be watchful. You don't know. And so there's kind of the urgency of the immediacy of the return of Christ. That's what I've coined is, you've got to be paying attention. You've got to be ready. Not live in fear, because we do have boldness and we do have assurance, but to be different, to stand out. Don't be the churchy, institutionalized corporate religion person. Find out who Jesus truly is and who he means to you personally and what he wants to do for you in your life personally.
That's great. You know, one thing I've recognized just in our conversation is, and I love that you bring this up, there's a sense of urgency to living out Christ-likeness. But I think at some level you could look at, and one thing that we know is, I mean, that Jesus said, "He's my peace I leave with you, my peace I give you." How do we balance that seemingly not contradiction, but just like, how do you be peaceful but also urgent? It can almost seem like trying to do two different things at once. But how do you encourage people to walk that line?
I think there's a certain amount of peace that comes from knowing that you have somebody bigger than you who is sovereignly orchestrating your steps. Proverbs 3, 5, and 6. Don't lean on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he will direct your paths. So
Yeah.
there is a peace knowing that there is a master orchestrator that if you are surrendered to him, he can move your steps through, the purpose that he has designed for each person. But while you're doing that, there is a certain sense of urgency knowing that, one, you don't know how long you're going to be here. Two, Jesus said 3 times toward the end of Revelation, behold, I'm coming quickly. I'm coming quickly. I'm coming quickly. People say, yeah, well, it's been 2,000 years or whatever. That's been a long time, so that's a tired old story. Well, Peter said in the last days there will be scoffers who say that very same thing. So in reality, you're helping to fulfill prophecy by maintaining that attitude.
Wow.
And second of all, he also said in one place, a day with the Lord is 1,000 years, 1,000 years is one day. I'm not making any calendaring effects here, but if you use that as economy of time, then he's only technically been gone 2 days. So if he comes back in 2.5 days, well, that's kind of quick. So in his time versus ours.
Wow.
So it's still, there's urgency all through it. Not like a fear, like, oh, I'm got to be nervous or whatever. It's just being purposeful, intentional about each day, saying, what can I do to, one, become more like him, and two, to help others find the kingdom.
Wow, thank you. So if anybody wants to learn more about your latest book or any of the books you've written, the articles you mentioned, where would be the easiest place for them to go and get some more information?
Yes, if they go to my website, it is www.natestevens.net, kind of like hairnet.
Okay.
For a bald guy. Somebody.
Was that purposeful so that you could say
well,
that? Because that is such a good line.
I wish I was that creative, but somebody went and bought the .com thinking that I would, pay them a lot of money for it. But no, so I just switched to .net, and it was available, and so there it is. So yes, there's free resources out there, leadership topics. There's information about some of our one of our trips to Israel. I think maybe 2 of our trips is out there, but it's there and it's available, and there's some videos, some blogs. So there's a ton of resources. I hope people will go get them. There's 4 devotionals, 30-day devotionals that can help, books, articles. It's all there, what God has given me.
That's great.
So
Thank
God
you
is
so
good.
much for being here. Amen.
God is good. Thank you for having me.
Yes,
Absolutely.